Alright, hello and welcome everybody. Today I'm going to show you how to solder up a PICO connector, which all it does is deliver 3 and 5 volts to your motherboard, so you don't need an ATX power supply. This is what it is. This is a 90 watt PICO connector. I'm just going to call it PICO. You can see there's just 2 wires, 12 volt in, and it converts the 12 volt to 3.5 and 5 amps, 5 volts. The one on the right is actually burned up, and then I'm showing you a 250 watt PICO connector that I just got in the mail. And you don't want to skimp out. The cheap ones are 20 and the expensive ones are 30. And you don't want to pay a whole lot, because I think now there's actually a couple websites that are selling them with the 6-pin connector already on it, but they want over $50 a piece for them. And here's just showing that you have to use the wires that come with every PICO connector, because they're wired different and it matters. So you want to use the wires that come with it, or at least compare and make sure they're the same. I didn't even know this one came with a 4-prong plug-in on it, so I actually made one of these, which is just a 4-pin to 6-pin. And if you get these exact ones, you don't have to solder every time. You can just, if the PICO goes bad after a couple of years, you can just unplug that and replug this in. And I could use that exactly how it is, but then we wouldn't have a video today. So I'm going to unplug that and solder up a new one. This is the 250 watt PICO connector. And these simply just, the wires that plug into it have a SATA 4-pin, which I'll show you here in a minute. I have connector that goes from 4 to 8 pin for the motherboard, so and them are reusable. You just take it, unplug it, take it to the next one. And then I'm going to cut this wire long enough to where if I ever need that 4-pin, I can always reuse it, solder it onto some other wires if I ever need it. And I'm sure everybody's seen these. They come with your riser cards. It's just an old one I've had laying around, never used. The SATAs are dangerous. And so whack that off. And that's about it. We're just going to wire them 2 things together. And I'm going to show you it working. And then if you stay clear to the end, I'll show you the monster of a computer that it goes in. And I'm not going to sit here and make you guys watch me skinning these wires. So we're going to fast forward for a second. Alright, and here you can see me. I'm just twisting the wires individually, and then I'm going to twist them together. And this is the PICO connector side. Just taking the 2 yellow wires, twisting them together. I'll take the 2 black wires and twist them together. You don't have to hook the yellow wires together. You can hook them up separate, but then you have 3 solder connections to make, so it's simpler to do it this way. And I think it's actually better, because that way it ensures that both wires get the exact same voltage at all times. And now I'm basically going to do the same thing with the plug-in side. Strip these wires off, and it actually has 3 ground wires. You can 2 power wires, just to make sure you got a good enough ground. You won't believe how much money you can save buying these PICO connectors instead of ATX power supplies. If you're already mining and you got the server rated power supply there running, why would you buy an ATX power supply whenever you can just literally buy these, plug them in, and you're done? And then whenever these go bad, you'll have the same exact problems you would have if your power supply was going bad. You know, it's the same exact problems. And then the best part about this, they're $30 a piece, so you can just pop one out, pop a new one in, problem goes away, throw the old one in the garbage. I went through about 6 ATX power supplies, and 5 of them still work, but they just won't. They won't put out 5 volts, or they won't put out 3.5 volts. And these will do the same thing, but they're just way cheaper. So here I'm hooking all 3 wires together on the ground side, and then I'm going to hook both of these yellow wires together on the power side. And it's very simple. And my light just went out. We're going to go ahead and skip forward a minute. Alright, and we're back. I'm just twisting up these wires still. Sorry about the complication with the lights. I'm pretty sure it goes out one more time before we're done. And it doesn't matter what end is on the PICO connector, you can cut it off. All it is 12 volts in. As long as you put 12 volts into it and it has a big enough supply. You know, your power supply has to be able to handle running your motherboard as well as all your cards. And then I'm just going to take and put them up in the middle and twist one way and one the other. That way it's a nice, clean, small solder joint connection. You don't want some big ball sticking out in the middle of your wires. So 2 yellows together. We're going to hook the 2 blacks to the 3 blacks. I will twist it the same way. Once you solder it, you never come apart. 3 blacks to the 2 blacks. And that's it. Wiring's done. Now I'm just going to solder it up. And I'm pretty sure the light problems are over. Sorry about the focus on this camera. I'm just getting started. Got a lot of videos to make. And if you're liking anything you see, go ahead and give me a like. Like I said, I got a lot more videos coming in the future to help you guys save money. So if you subscribe and hit the notification bell, you be sure not to miss anything. This is just regular electrical solder or flux. And I hope you guys like my brush. It's literally just the end of one of the wires. Regular flux. Using a skinned wire for my brush. And you can never really get too much of this stuff. If you don't have enough, it won't take. If you get too much, you can't get too much. It'll just run off and you can keep to it. And I'm using I have an actual soldering iron. It's called a reworking station. I have a soldering iron and an actual flameless torch, meant for reworking motherboards. That's what I'm going to use because it's so fast. You guys won't believe how fast this thing melts solder. And here we go. Flux. And it takes literally no time for it to melt the solder. Now that I have this, I notice I'll solder a lot more wires. Even if I don't have to solder them, it's just easier to solder them because I have this reworking station sitting here plugged in. I could literally just walk over, flip a switch, and it's done. You just mainly want to make sure that you always turn it off, because it will turn off whenever you hang the receiver up. But if you have an animal or something that would knock that off, you know, this thing would definitely catch your house on fire. So never walk away from this thing with it turned on, whether it's running or not. And there's plenty enough solder on them wires, but I put a good bit on, that way there's no way it can get corroded. And you definitely don't want to try wire nutting these wires, because if they end up getting a bad connection over time, it will either burn up your motherboard or your PICO connector or your power supply. And you don't want none of that. So just solder it real good. By the time you bought one or two of these PICO connectors and a reworking station, you've already, in the two PICO connectors work, you've already saved more money than one ATX power supply. This is literally a game changer. At least it was for me. You know, an ATX, like I said, I have a big rig. So for me to run ATX power supplies, I have to run a 1600 watt power supply. You're talking about $400 a pop. And ATX power supplies are junk. If they run 24/7, they don't even last 6 to 8 months for me. And these things are awesome. Now that I've got the 250 watts, they last. I've got one that's lasted over a year. Way better than any ATX power supply. And I'm just wiping stuff off. We're gonna go ahead and jump forward a little bit. Alright, here we are at my test rig. Just an old TB250 6 card. Don't make fun of my little graphics card, little 4 gig. Just to test, just for testing. See, here it is, one wire taped. And then here is an adapter you'll have to buy. Better plug it in first. Once again, always use the wires that come with each connector. As you can see, there's 2 of the SATAs on this one, Molex, and it actually has an auxiliary fan on the other side. We're going to use this 4-prong. While we're coming to focus, there we go. So we're just going to take this 4-prong and hit it with an adapter from 4 to 8. And plug that in. So I got that off eBay as well. I think $4 or $5. And they're reusable. So you just, whenever you get your next PICO connector, you can plug that right in. As long as you always check the wires where they come out of each plug and make sure they're not burnt. If they're starting to discolor, the wires start discoloring where they come out of the plug, you need to get rid of the wire at either end. Usually it happens at where the power comes in. Is usually where they start to turn black. If that happens, your wires are going bad. The metal is actually going bad inside the terminal. Here we're just going to hook up the SATA. And now here's the main plug. If you plug it in the right way. As you can still see, the one wire is untaped. my camera here just for a second. I'll let you guys see me plug it in, hopefully. And that's a 950 server rated power supply sitting under my little monitor there. I have a 12 outlet breakout board on it. It's the one I usually use for the big rigs downstairs. See, that's a large breakout board, and I'm going to make you guys to where you can see the switch. You can see me power this baby up. Oh yeah, these are the hard drives I use for mining. They're called Dogfish. They're just cheapos, 64 gig, and I've been having good luck with them. Just what I use. And here we go. There it is. That's how you do it. So, like I said, if you like this video, like it. If you want some more good info, subscribe. And I'll see you guys the next... Oh, wait. No, I got to show you the big rig. Alright, so here it is. Keep them fans just to make sure these PICO connectors don't get overheated. But there it is in the rig. They will run your 12 card rig, because they'll run mine. Now, if you like the video, like it. If you like it a lot, subscribe. If you think it might help somebody save some money, go ahead and share it. There's my 2400 watt, 94% efficiency power supply. I'll be doing a video on why I run my computers off 220 soon. I'll see you there. Bye.